I'm not a people person. And I like that my paintings are there, like it's something that will exist outside of me, beside and despite of me. I like being around my paintings, but I really love seeing them go out into the world. My father had artist friends, and he had one in particular, and he took me to his studio. So, because I remember must have been around 5 or 6. And I just remember that I don't remember when I decided I wanted to be an artist. I just remember that my parents asked, like most parents ask little children, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said I wanted to be an artist. And I remember this because then my father bought me my first oil paints, which was not usual for a 5-6-year-old. But I guess it's in his mind, artists paint with oil and children paint with water-based paint. So I started painting in oil, and I've always just painted oil, but nobody taught me, and my dad had no idea either how to do this. So I remember like washing my hands with turpentine, and because he had no idea, because all his experience was house painting. How do you get rid of, how do you wash your brushes? He only knew turpentine because that's how you clean your brushes after house paint. So that I remember. And I kind of, I was determined from then on. I think I made it like a part of my identity that I was going to be an artist. I live in Paris partly by choice and partly because that's where life led me. It's not, I did always love Paris, but I didn't imagine spending my whole life here. When I was an adolescent, I imagined living all over the world. I don't think that I would be doing the work that I do now had I stayed in Finland, because I wouldn't have had access to everyday access to the incredible museum collections that are in Paris. Maybe if I had lived in London or New York or another big city, that might have been the case, but it was very much, you learn to paint by looking at painting. It's really, that's the wonder, I guess, with painting, that even if you do a very contemporary work, you can still go to the Louvre and look at a 16th century painting, learn something from it, bring it to your studio and make something completely contemporary with it, even a small detail or something. So I think that, I don't think that I could have stayed in a city where you don't have that access. I have a very slow process in getting to work, just the creative process of really getting into it. Every time if I have to move, I waste copious amounts of time. I honestly work better at home than, I don't know how artists who live in multiple cities do it. It's just not my mentality. Maybe it's because the work is more contemplative, that I don't need change as stimuli that much. I need time and quiet and solitude. I think of every painting as a singular project. I don't do process-based painting in the sense that I don't work on several pieces at the same time, and I only work on one painting at a time, and I finish it. I start it and I finish it in a same time period. Really the beginning is when I start noting down an idea for a painting, or ideas that get combined into one painting. The first is actually is a notation in words, just a few words. And then I start working on a sketch in my notebook. If I can use just a few lines to convey what I'm trying to convey, I'm very happy with that. It doesn't have to be a complex composition. It doesn't have to be. If I can say as much as possible with as little as possible, I'm very happy with that. Which is the point of the sketch as well. If I can test it, like how I can to put down only a few lines and stop there. The sketch also permits me to crop it as much as possible, because when I start working on a painting, the canvas is already stretched. There's no recropping at that point. I redraw I see sketch, but it's actually not really the correct word, because they're quite precise drawings. So the drawing is my model after that for the painting I redraw it on canvas, maybe changing a little bit the proportions, because it doesn't work the same way in large as it does in small. And then I start to do the actual painting. By the time I'm painting, there is no repenti. There's no change in the drawing at that point. There might be changing colors, but there is no. The drawing doesn't change afterwards. If it's a failed painting, then I throw it away. But it's not. I'm not going to modify the drawing at that point. I sometimes have ideas about colors, specific colors, because I've seen them in another artwork, or because I have a very restricted palette. Because I mix everything from primary colors, so I only have 2 reds, 1 blue, 1 yellow, and a white, and a green. It's a viridian green, because I don't buy black, and viridian you can mix with alizarin crimson and make a perfect black, or a colored black. I introduced a cobalt violet because I saw the Degas show, and his cobalt violets are amazing, and I wanted to try that. And then I also, at one point, my blue used to be cobalt blue. I switched it to Prussian blue when I learned that the Japanese ukiyo prints used Prussian blue, and that's how, when that was the first blue ink that was introduced around the time of Hokusai, and that's how that color came from that. And I wanted to take that specific blue and put it in my painting that were already often referencing ukiyo prints, in the way that in the flatness of the surfaces, how you can, because I was always very admirative of their composition and their efficiency in depicting a human form with just the outline, with completely flat surfaces, which is obviously for them also due to the process of printing, but I thought that was something that I could use for my own ends. So there's color intuitive, but then there's also color that comes from the history of art that I just wanted to bring into my work. When there is a human presence in my paintings, I rarely show the person in its entirety, because the less you show, the more you appeal to imagination. the more you... So it's... I always find it funny, the question of narration or storytelling in my painting, because I'm not telling the story, you are. I'm giving you triggers to your imagination. So, but it's just that I'm just there. That's what I find interesting about it. It's because what can I put on canvas that can give so much more than what is there? What can I give as a clue, as a trigger, to make maybe even a tiny painting so strong that I can put in a huge wall and it will just hold its own? Because there's just something so mysterious about it. But it's really about the less I show, the more I appeal to your imagination. I make paintings that, well, they always represent something that you could have seen, that is something from the perceived world, but they don't look like what is in front of your eyes. They look more like how I would describe things to you. What I am trying to find is subjects that are common or banal or quotidian, but that also would have, firstly, maybe a poetic quality once you really start to think about them. And also because I would love for us to have a common denominator. I would love to find sort of a common ground, which is why I think I like it when my pictures look like you've already seen them somewhere. I mean, all my subjects come from what would say the perceived world, but particularly something from the quotidian, from our everyday, from things that most people see everywhere. And I'm hoping that maybe it will also change how they see things at some point. In cinema, we tend to understand this as this is a close-up, so this is important either now or later, but pay attention, this is important. And that's something that I think I can use as a painter, not because I'm telling a story, but because I could maybe get you to pay attention to something. It's also about the sparsity of means on the canvas. If it's quiet, if there are only a few essentials, then you can walk your way and not look at it. But you can also, when you are looking at it, you will pay attention to what is there because there's no noise. And you can imagine what's not there, because there is a lot of I do realize that I don't like giving things whole. I find my paintings more satisfactory when there is a part of them where you can see that there is something you're not seeing. I would like that you would not just passively see, but intentionally look at something. For me, not just the object of painting, but fact of being an artist and doing art is a way of trying to give shape and form and something graspable of the world. Maybe I'm just too overwhelmed all the time, I don't know, but it's trying to make sense of the world as impossible as it is.